Welcome back to the show, everybody. We have um, one of the best snowboarders on earth, somebody that has inspired generations and generations of people through his tasteful approach in riding a snowboard. Gigi Ruf, what's up, dog? How you doing?
Doing good. Yeah. Um, I should not wobble and do the crazy stuff here. Being all excited to be on this show. Thanks, Jody, for inviting me all across from Europe over here. And yeah, I'm trying to keep that camera in focus. It's doing some funky stuff. So just trying to be put here,
No, you're good,
getting
my man.
bombarded with
Gigi's
some questions.
Gigi's camera is a little bit it's staying in focus and then out of focus, but it's all good because he's been in front of the camera his whole life. So a question I have, because I was reading an old interview on you, is what is your real name?
That's a good one to break the ice here. You can call me Christian. That's my real name.
Everybody's like, what? What just
Yeah.
happened to Gigi? So how did Christian turn into Gigi?
um, it's actually quite common to be like I'm the youngest of three yeah kids. So my sister was learning how to talk, and with Christian comes Kiki quite easy. So I've been kind of transformed from a Kiki into Gigi. That's what I've been called
Since when? Like
forever.
when was the adoption? At like a teenager?
Oh man, I actually ran through a few of nicknames. One was Pumuckl, as I was a small kid, and I don't know if you're familiar with European cartoons. Pumuckl is this little kobold, like
No, not at
causing
all.
a lot of mischief. He can like the Pumuckl can disappear. He's only no yeah, doing mischief. But that was that for once. But yeah, Gigi stuck with me. And
What was
there's a few other Christians around here that have nicknames. I don't know.
well, I mean, yeah, sure. Gigi, Christian. I'm just gonna keep the Gigi going because that's how I like to pick, like to envision you. You know what I mean? That's what I grew up. Your first part, I would have caught. I would have been happy hour, but we can talk about that in a second. What I'd love to ask you is what was growing up in Austria like? Like that's your hometown, if I'm correct. I mean, you've traveled the whole world. You know, what was growing up in your neighborhood like when you were a kid?
um, yeah, I was the youngest, so growing up, I was always kind of like in that family zone, trying to, you know, catch up with my brothers, do what they do, and things like that. Like probably what regular kids do, um, until I found snowboarding, where it took a bit of different turns from then on. But no, spending time around my family and relatives, like my uncles, like my grandfather was running a farm, my uncles worked there, and there were all these different uncles with their different characters, and some you were, if you meet them, you would have to help them. The others were like more like, okay, what are you up to? So the other one was operating big machinery, so we could, jump on them and I don't know, do things that like in a small town you do, yeah.
What so did your uncle? Like I like how you depicted a few of your different uncles here. Like, you bump into the one uncle and he's just like, Gigi, what's up? How you doing? The other one's like, let's put you to work. Thanks
Yeah,
for coming over. We're gonna put you in the tractor and you can do a few hours in the backyard before you head home.
yeah, that's how it was.
I think
Yeah,
everybody has a slew of uncles and aunts that are like that too. Some that are like, you're not doing the dishes, you're here. I'm gonna treat you with, you know, food and drinks, and then other
and
people are
some
like,
and
do
some
the
good
dishes.
time. It's still growing up stuff here.
Totally. So
Yeah.
how did snowboarding all start for you then? As you mentioned there, that it was kind of like, you're on the same path with your siblings, and then you fall in love with this slippery piece of wood, and then you guys probably all kind of go in different directions. So how did that first appear to you? Like, how did it start?
Yeah, like my brother picked it up, and
The brother.
yeah, definitely showed me a glimpse of what other activity you can do in the snow in the time where usually it's school time and like, okay, what do we do? Go to the mountain home resort, and the common sport obviously was skiing or cross country, but that wasn't too fantastic. So um, it was a welcomed attraction, this slippery piece of wood. But yeah, you know, basically was just, yeah, in summer BMX, and in winter it was any sort of activity from snowball fights to anything you could do. So easy to try something new.
And did your older brother picked up a snowboard? Is he somebody that you looked up to a lot? So immediately you're like, I want to hang with you and your my brother's older friends. Um
Yeah, it was more like he was asking my mom to get a snowboard, and obviously I was the one saying, I want one too. I want to try this too. So my mom was again, okay, let your bigger brother try this, see what this is all about. And first day on the hill, afternoon, renting a board, he just started down the hill straight line, and mom was super scared, and I could feel that. And I was like, what's going on? He's going to kill himself going straight down the hill, not being able to stop. That was my first impression. And after that, I was trying to learn it as well, like half a year later or so.
and
I,
what would have a setup look like at this time frame, and what would the year have been? Because I feel like that depicts like your gear, etc.
yeah, you're a snowboard nerd, right? So it
Yeah,
was
like what kind of
nine,
gear are
90s,
you repping?
1990.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
so it was like one of those, like they were called Inferno, but they were like just white top and bottom, but they all looked the same. Cut off tail, super heavy, was only available, I don't know, in 160. And hard boot
160.
bindings.
And
One,
you're a
that's
kid.
how we went straight down the hill. Like the
Of
thing
course
had
he
some
couldn't
force.
turn. The thing's like a missile.
Yeah, yeah. So learned that way about, yeah, gravity.
Did you say
But
that you had hard boots?
yeah, hard boots only. Yeah, some
Damien, eh?
special.
Fucking guy.
Yeah,
When did you
and
first get a pair of a soft boots, the comfortable
oh,
ones?
this, like, all this goes hand in hand with kind of like my brother. So he started half a year before. I really picked it up after I was afraid of him basically killing himself on a snowboard. I picked it up because all his friends started picking it up, and it became this thing in school. What cool things, what cool guys do, kind of thing. So I wanted to do that in my class as well. Start something cool and be one among the first one. And I could, you know, um, yeah, pick my brother's brain, see what it's all about, and got like, quicker entrance into it. And sure enough, my friends had same age older brothers as my older brother was, so it was kind of like this how do you call it, this clone group of like
Yeah, exactly.
three years younger guys. But yeah, it's the gear became available, sure, and a year later, like it was 1991, and I got to get a snowboard too. Got it off the back of my mom. I was like, hey, after wishing for it over birthdays, Christmas, I don't know, Easter, I finally had all the credits together to get myself a snowboard. But yeah, it was hard boots, but shorter. And back to the soft boots breakthrough. That came because starting to see catalogs. Um, we like my brother got his hands on some pair of bindings, some old Burton bindings. They still had like the stiff like high back, and yeah, you could not just collapse it. It was like just this one
Tower.
thing. Yeah, and we were using moon boots, so we were
No
trying
way.
to go after up in the attic to find like just some old winter boots, and so we mounted them. Like my brother was more, yeah, versatile, screwing on mopeds and whatnot. He could T-bolt the boards, so we could actually mount those bindings on, but we did not have the boots. So anyway, we went for it because we wanted to jump and do the tricks we saw in pictures. And yeah, it wasn't just cool to have hard boots. Those were the racers, the alpine guys. We want to be
And you were
on
attracted to the
the soft boots.
freestyle.
Yeah.
And did you hurt your ankles a lot of the day? I'm wondering, when those boots were so soft back then, are you coming home with like sore calves and ankles? Because I feel like your bindings, as you mentioned, are like super stiff. The high backs don't even fold back down. So like they're jutting into your calf muscles. And then there's no support around the ankles. And I'm assuming, trying to learn how to backflip and stuff because you're a kid.
No, I mean, I was afraid of backflips for a long, long time, actually.
Oh, no
That
way.
took a
Just a
while.
bear guy.
We're jumping like serious forward on that. But no, it like not having the support on the boots so much. I think it made, nowadays you have the powder surfers, and I feel like you get to ride your board even better if you feel that it's, you need to stand on the front foot and
Totally.
things like that. But and to avoid getting your ankles hurt. But back in the day, for some reason, I don't know what it was, everybody would say that your wrists would get hurt from snowboarding. But maybe it was because nobody's seen anybody without poles on the hill. Like, oh, you'll fall and hurt your wrist. But that was the most common injury back in the day. Was like, oh, he broke his wrist. But
Oh
guess
yeah, wrists and your knees and your butt. I feel like those, because you constantly are catching your edge as you're navigating down the hill when you're a beginner, and I feel like you're going heel edge or toe edge all day. And if you're going heel edge, you're going butt first, and if you go toe edge, you're going knee to wrist.
and my mom was always worried about, oh, you coming back home all wet, and that was obviously because we sat on our butts for the whole time. So that, like, people could not understand the snowboarders because they're sitting around all the time on their butts in the snow.
What kind of
So,
terrain did you grow up riding? Like, were you like entered in like the half pipe world, and you're digging out mini ditches, or do you have a lot of POW in your backyard, or are you riding, like, I'm just curious to know what terrain was accessible to you growing up.
um, well, it was T-bar access, so I had to learn how to ride the T-bar first. And there was no snowboard parks, and so it was, yeah, off piste a bit, and like, you jump onto the piste. That's how you could learn 360s. Just dodge the side of the piste, the poles right outside, and hit it back in off the, I don't know what you call it, curb.
Curb,
So
yeah.
that's how you learned how to
How to
snowboard,
stunt.
freestyle, and then natural half pipes and things like that. Building jumps, we had to get creative at that point.
And
Yeah.
who would have been like a group of guys that would have been influencing you? I'm assuming at this time frame, it's like, mid 90s. Like, did you have a handful of guys? Did you have some magazines and some videos and some idols at this point?
Yeah, actually, the funny part was one of the sport shops, and again, there comes my brother. Um, one of his classmates was the son of the sports shop, Fuchs, and to get just a copy of the Burton catalog page, I had to smoke a full cigarette without putting it out of my mouth. And I was like, I don't know, 11 years old, 12 years old. And he was just like, do or dare, I get you the page copy. Like, I don't know, I might still have it, but like this big old catalog that looked like a newspaper, just to get, eyes on like the new stuff and what there is. you know, anyhow, there was this group, yeah,
Amazing.
and these older ones, and they just, I don't know, they might already have been sponsored at that time, but they knew a whole, lot about snowboarding and freestyle, and had like a Moro spoon and like twin tips. That's what it was. That's what probably attracted me to that group of guys. It was like they were having twin tips. The other one had the brushy, and I was like, what they were doing, all the new school stuff. And we saw them from the chairlift, and obviously that was kind of like drawn to them to would like to ride with them one run or get to know them. And they were like super mega cool boys, and probably because they were also the skaters in summer. But yeah, that whole skate influence came in on that time frame, mid 90s. So I wanted a
So,
skateboard too, which
so
was a
sick.
BMX. I traded the BMX for skateboarding, basically in a small town.
And how did your first like sponsorship come together? Like how did that all come to be?
That was just begging for gear, like
Yes.
trying to go to the shop and like, I want this, and what about sponsoring me? It's like, what are your credentials here? Well, yeah, there were just not really any competitions, but through the group of guys, I did get to hear a bit, oh, word on the street is can go to this competition, which are provincial cups, or things like that. And that's where I wanted to go, just to show some, yeah, sponsor me credits.
And it worked? Did you end up walking home with a few sponsors at one point or what?
Not at first, but I got a lot of positive feedback, like I've been getting from you
Constructive
in my
criticism.
intro. That's like what I've been after ever since. Free gear, got some uh, pat on the shoulders. Now, my first competitions was like I was doing these 540s, and it was a big thing back then. So everybody was like, "Oh wow, you're so young." So I was a young kid. You're so young, and blah, blah, blah. And sure enough, I got, yeah, to meet a lot of people. It was just like that time where you meet everybody from the scene, and you get like, I got to know there's snowboard clubs, like federations linked to the ISF and whatnot, and started to see this whole sport kind of like coming from, what was in the catalogs and magazine, what was a trend, to be like, oh, there's, like a whole group and a lifestyle attached to it. Yeah, it was the lifestyle part that I discovered in those mid 90s, and with the first events. And so come the first connection to like a board shop called Hot Shop, and they agreed to borrow me a gear for like a twin tip hazmat board for a season, and that's how it started.
Wow. And
Yeah,
then
the
okay,
whole
because
sponsoring thing.
yeah, because I'm
Silence,
wondering like, how
because
did that mid 90s sponsorship turn into your breakout part in Destroyer?
in Destroy, yeah, 5 years later,
Yeah, that would have been like 5 years
huh?
later. But I'm wondering where that like, because if I'm being completely honest, that 95 era to 1999 when Destroyer came out, like I don't know anything about Gigi in that time frame. And when
Oh,
Destroyer
that's
came
nice.
out, yeah, so I just don't know like how that, how did it come to be
Yeah, and what are
Destroyer?
5 years these days? Like 5 years is nothing these days.
I know, right?
Back
Flies
then,
by.
a whole lot happened. I mean, thinking back that I was, I don't know, 14, 15, uh, my s- shop sponsor uh, was, yeah, bringing me to SA in San Diego when I was like that little. I got to meet everybody from Volcom, and
Dang.
things went off the chart. From
Because
then, I was
you were on
like
Volcom since a
walking
kid.
around the SA with like print like pictures of my that my mom took of me snowboarding at this little bag that I show pictures around just those sponsor credits like this is what I do, and you know they were developing 35 millimeter frames pictures, and I got to meet everybody. Where should I start? Like skaters, everybody from Volcom. It was crazy. I was actually through this shop. My sponsor list was Hazmat, Yang, Black Flies. What were the gloves called? Plain Zane. And these were the turned out the shop had a distribution, setup. So that was his business. He distributed US companies, snowboard companies. And at that time, Volcom was looking for an Austrian distributor, and he was like really heavily involved in that. And so I was writing basically what he was importing, and so I went to SA and I got to meet all those companies and went to visit them, and including Volcom. Yeah,
Did you get to
that's
meet
where
any of
it
the
started.
pros that were on Volcom at that point, like on the snow
Uh,
team?
oh yeah, I was playing like I was in this remembering in the same room. I was playing where Terje Johan Sebo Kuhlberg was playing around the pool with must have been Remy Stratton. He was back then, and Volcom. This other guy, Stevie, he's helped out Volcom in sales. So it was his house, and we were staying there with Mark Iser, who was my travel companion. And all this happened, my mom actually allowed me to go there to the US. That was crazy. I'm so young.
Yeah, that's nuts. Because now
Yeah.
you're a parent and you're like, are you gonna let your kid oh, you're a
Yeah, with the
14,
stranger.
15, you're going to SIA, this random trade show, and you're gonna go hang out
Yeah.
with a bunch of people who, I mean,
Yeah.
at that point, snowboarders like look, the bagginess and stuff like that, and skate look is pretty like,
Yeah.
it's pretty raw. It hasn't, there's like a
Oh yeah,
part of
Blackfly was
snow.
pretty raw.
Yeah, for
You would
sure.
get
Like
it
I can only
with
imagine what the trade show was like in 1998, 6 or whatever.
yeah, definitely.
Dang.
Yeah, it was out of the world
So was the
experience.
connections that you made from Volcom during these trade show appearances and stuff, is that what led you to meet like, Whitey, or like how did you get
Oh
like
yeah,
picked
you're
up to
fast
get in?
forwarding to Destroyer to
But we can go
year
before then because I don't
2000.
know anything about before then. So it would be cool for you to
Yeah.
touch base on it. I
Okay.
don't.
Um, well, so that was an intense, like let's say, uh, mark a crucial time for me to, have that connection to a board sponsor. I mean, a shop sponsor. Yeah. So having that shop sponsor was important time because I got to know, and every time somebody from, other board companies would visit, we would go snowboarding together. So I got always introduced to the owners of the companies quite quickly, and them visiting Austria. And sure enough, I mean, one of the stories behind that was, the shop and the distribution. The business did not continue at some point. And on a good note, I guess I gave back all my stuff because I could ride for Burton at that time when I was
Dang.
16. So 2 years later, and that was another quick, okay, quick one. I got on Burton, rode the chopper at that time, and I got to go to summer camps during that, and so magazines, videos, photographer connection started. and I knew what it would take to, work with photographers and land in a magazine and get my name out there. At the beginning, it was Christian Gigi Ruf. If you have
That's how you were
seen
titled
the
in the
beginning,
mags back then?
that's how it was. And on Burton, for some odd reason, I was draw another lucky straw that I ended up on the 7 team, which was a bit of like, what they started at that point when, they were kind of having to go against like Forum and so on, that they were putting up this coalition group, which is not necessarily, the Burton team. The global team was always like this kind of big guys, and at that point, there was not really any leverage from below for younger kids to come up or newcomers, because there was, like all, I guess now thinking about it, it probably was like just super large athlete contracts and things like that that made this whole thing seem weird. But so that was that untouchable group. But with the 7 board program, uh, there were 7 guys chosen around the world, and they were like kind of like the newcomers: Chris Brown from Canada, Jason Brown, then was Sani and me in Austria, and 2 other guys from Japan. And I guess one is missing. Oh, Jeffy.
Jeff Anderson.
Jeffy was on that too. So it was 1 Canadian and 2 US. I guess Jason Brown is considered US. And those are the 7 guys. And we were kind of like, the prodigies and called, Jake's Army or whatever. But we kind of held the flag of the rider driven thing. So I got introduced into Burton when we could actually give input and were listened to, like we were put on a global team even. Like there were like all this list, I don't know, Shannon Dunn, Dave Downing, blah, blah, blah. There was even Sonny Albabe, Gigi Ruf, and Sonny is one of my friends, and he we were sponsored by the same shop back then, make the same kind of moves. And that then brought me to the year 2000 when, Burton had, put me on the team, invited us to the Nippon Open, which is in Japan. So first time riding somewhere international was actually Japan. From Japan, my ticket was going to the team challenge in Snow Summit. And
Damn,
that's
team
where,
challenges were so sick. I mean, for me as a
so
kid looking
that's,
at them, damn.
yeah. So we're at the team challenge, and I got to go from, basically it was school still, my last year of school. Parents are like, you finish school first. And yeah, on that trip, I guess, around the world ticket that Burton booked me, I got, um, team manager Blado to take care of me, and he introduced me to Brad Kramer at the team challenge, and that's who filmed my video part in Destroyer.
Damn, dude. That
Yeah,
is such a sick. That's why I asked you. And I'm so glad I did. Like, what was that phase before 1999, before 2000? Because I don't know any of that. So to hear about the Burton 7 story about like the hand selected, especially Jeff Anderson, who's like the sickest snowboarder ever, rest in peace. And Browner and like that whole come to be, and then like even Brad Kramer's name, his name gets dropped throughout the podcast all the time, and I've never met him, I don't think, and it just seems like that guy has done a lot for snowboarding.
yeah, the team challenge was also my first chance to film for my first Volcom video too, Luminous Llama. I ran into Todd Hazeltine up there, who was doing follow cams with Bjorn Linus. So yeah, the forum team was there with Yoni Malmi, and it was Snow Summit. And that has just done it. I've not been in a snowboard park before that. I mean, we built snowboard parks at home through a snowboard club and organizing hand dog half pipe competitions and things like that. That was all 90s. The year 2000, which landed me on that around the world ticket that Burton financed, and I had to do this phone call home telling mom, hey, Blado thinks it's a good idea for me to film for this video company, snowboard movie video company, Kingpin. And I get to stay at this house in Tahoe from this guy called Blaze Rosenthal. And I stayed there for 2 months and kept extending. I was like, a couple more shots, the next shoot, and blah, blah, blah. And ended up, being transferred rookie of the year after that. And
Oh,
so
dude, that part is so
kept
sick.
going.
What a sick that video like goes down in the history books. As far well for me and my friends and what I've heard anyway. Like it's a little bit before when I really started binge watching snowboarding. It wasn't until later in life that I started just watching it because it's just such a sick
When did you
movie.
start snowboarding?
I would have started in like 99 probably, but I was just playing like
99.
tag, you know what I mean? I was like a baby. I was just going around the hill and just goofing around. I think like 2003 probably 2002 would have been like when I was getting like obsessed. You know, True Life, when True Life came out, that was like my first like video that I watched on loop.
So being put into the whole Tahoe scene around Kingpin and so on, Mammoth, and what there was, Blackwood, all the spots. I got to meet a lot of people, everyone, and it was crazy times for sure. Like from everything that happened during that time, from what was Forum, and I want to say like Mikos Joblom or things like that, like looking at other people's careers, what path it took. I always kind of like was like, how come about I'm like here, but since with Brad Kramer, Blaze, and the whole Kingpin crew, and especially Blado, definitely been introduced quite well, and I'm pretty stoked that my
Yeah,
career went
dude. I
like,
mean, to land like it was your first major video part and you land rookie of the year. And you're already introduced onto the Burton kind of thing. You're on Volcom. The ball starts really rolling for you. Do you have any insight onto what your like contracts, or if you care to share, is 20 something years ago, just what was your Burton contract like, or a Volcom contract like in 1999 for Gigi?
Well, back to my parents saying, well, you first finished school. It was definitely not. I mean, I could take care of myself already. I was buying, the trampoline I wanted, so I bought it myself or things like that. It was not that my parents had to take care of my career, and that came maybe a bit of a surprise. It was not always. I could dig them out how they were looking, those contracts back then, but it was 2 years, one option year. So if you kept delivering those 2 years, you get an extra option year. And I think I still even have the pen which I signed my first Burton contract with.
Sick.
And it was all incentive based.
Cool.
So there was a base amount which was, I don't know, enough for me. I don't know. I did not even put value to anything, but it was money I could save. and that was because traveling was paid. So when I stayed on the road, like take all the Finnish kids, I guess, that were just traveling all the time, that's what was for free for us as a professional. Then you know, the time on the road being shooting meant you living for free out of the pocket from your sponsor. So that was
Dang.
travel expenses. And then there was the incentive part, which came from like quarter size picture in a magazine, half page, full page, cover, and all these things. And maybe like end of the print kind of era, I was exposure media champion all the time,
My
like for
man.
all the years. So my work ethic was high up there, and thanks to you know a good school of like photo shoots that Burton has put me through, and working with photographers, and making the most out of my time I had with abroad, being filming with Kramer, and just making my time worth it, because I always saw it dawning like I was homesick for some part, like calling mom up, was like, oh, I like there was this carrot always, like this next shoot, or we would go to Mammoth for the next. It was like, I want to really get like a Cap 7, and mom, I need to stay another week, and like it was like always like these next plans, but I could feel like I have to make it happen in a shorter time, because yeah, it was always a bit like connected to work rather than living this lifestyle to the fullest. It was more like saving, working. You don't know how long this dream is gonna last.
That's really
That's what.
smart for you at a young age to kind of get a grasp on that, to know that
Yeah,
it could just end. And it's, I mean,
I
yeah, I
mean,
mean, missing
there
your
were
parents at that
enough
age.
there were enough careers that I saw on the sidelines and that I compared to, which path to take, because that's what it eventually is. You kind of like get inspiration, be it like from this trend, snowboarding, however it got big, and you look at inspirations everywhere. Like, I mean, all these tricks. I mean, don't reinvent the wheel, but you just try to do what runs through your veins and blood, what you really want to, and that's, I guess, how you accomplish certain dreams, is when you have a vision, and putting that to a video part that can hold its stakes and get, like, I don't know. I know it was incredible to be riding with a group of like the M3 guys. Those were my group I got put into, the basket with in
Yeah, like Mikey
Kingpin.
LeBlanc and all that.
Yeah, or Scotty Whitlake was
Oh
more or
yeah,
less it
Whitlake's
from
too.
Tahoe, and to go out with them, and you know you could see they were doing their thing. They were working on their video part. I was kind of like clueless, rolling, feeling like I'm with the homies here and there. But I was always a bit like, watching the others. Maybe it's also my European brain not really understanding everything fully. And other, like, Che too, at some point, like I said this before, but he would always come up to me. He's like, "Come on, just talk funny." Like, so
What
it
was
was
it
a bit
like to hang out
awkward.
with? Well, yeah, okay,
Not really good.
we can't go past that. Those two individuals who I think have helped shape snowboarding so
Yeah.
um gratefully in so
But
many
but
ways.
uh, but
Scotty
Blaze
Whitlake.
Blaze Rosenthal really has. I should mention him. He is the one who provided, like, he was the provider. Like, he let me stay at his pad, food, shared his whole life basically with Brad and me for so many years during the Kingpin days. And so that was interesting. Obviously, I've seen Blaze in early MacDog movies, and yeah, that was him that really paved
Yeah, he
paved
took
that
you under his
way.
wing. He kind of mentored you, gave you a spot. You know what I mean? That's, I think a
No,
lot of people.
he actually always gave us a bit shit. It always was a bit awkward, and sometimes he's not like the easiest to be around with all the time. But uh, super interesting, what I've learned from Blaze. Having been on like Silence before, then starting M3, and like then Villa Luoma is not far off, also in the Volcom corner, and so there were all these people around that I felt like, there's some connections, things I could learn from, and just kind of channeled me from Kingpin. Then, Absinthe started after that,
Oh
and
yeah,
it
big
just went
time.
it went on. Yeah. So 2000 rookie of the year, and it was just kind of crazy. Yeah, the contracts went up from there.
So you there.
It was nice.
I personally, I don't want. We will We'll jump right back to you. You know, the rookie of the year kind of phase in your life. But what was it like? These two individuals have inspired me maybe more than like so crazy. Like Scotty Whitlake, J2, two crazy personalities. Um, I definitely like how you dropped in there that your European brain maybe didn't understand all the inside jokes that were going on in the States, et cetera, at that time. What was it like to be around two such strong personas back then? You know, you got Scotty Whitlake, the Hesh, kind of like, kind of looking like, his video parts then were just making look like rough. And then you got J2, kind of the swagger gangster guy. Like, what was it like to be filming with those guys back in the day and in the movies with them?
Yeah, there were definitely different lifestyle going on, but they were quite territorial too. Like we were, in Tahoe with Blaze and and Scotty, and who else was around there? Like Tyler Lepore, yeah, and Andrew Crawford was put in that area too. When then there was the Utah crew where we would, venture out to for some when I don't know when the weather was good. We flew from Reno to Salt Lake with Southwest or whatever, and landed in Utah for my first time, and that was totally different scene. J2, Mark Frank, and then all
Yeah.
the Mormons, you know, which was like the craziest.
Like the Tech Nine crew. It was like the early
Yeah, it
days
was
of like Tech
Tech
Nine
Nine
crew.
crew. It was Brandon Bybee, Jason Murphy, then some Mitch Nelson showed up here and there who was also on M3. So yeah, and Mikey LeBlanc was there too. So I got to know that, which was more of a city feeling, around Salt Lake, and we would drive with the Astro van around. Everybody, like no seats in the back. You just put the snowboards in there, a couple of riders, and just drive up to Grizzly Gulch. It was called, I guess.
And
And
was it pretty easy to hang out with all those people? Are the vibes like good? Is it fun? Or are you like kind of like, oh, I'm on Burton, these guys are on M3, these guys are on Forum? Like, I feel like,
no,
or
it
was it
was a
easy?
Kingpin crew. Yeah,
Okay,
it was.
sick. You guys felt like
Yeah,
a
they were.
crew.
Yeah, it was. We're filming together. We're doing this, not understanding where we're going, but I've just been put on the spot, and it was awesome. Later on came, yeah, Nate Bozung, Jordan Mendenhall. Those were more kids my age at that point, where yeah, I started to find like so I was growing up, older siblings. I was used to all the riders in the crew, and that was like I was always the youngest. Basically, half my life was like the youngest. Felt like, and yeah, sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
what about, at this point, I feel so many people, especially in snowboarding, and I think you did a really good job just touching base on, you had like a goal and you were manifesting and realized this is how you accomplish snowboarding, is by like working hard and knowing that this potentially can't last forever. And I only have so much time being in the States to be productive. And I'm going to take all those opportunities to work with the photographers and to get my clips. Did you ever feel like you were going off track into partying? And, that's an easy thing to do in snowboarding, is to try out some drugs and to just drink and just do mushrooms and acid and just, and then you kind of maybe burn out or anything like that. Do you ever feel like you were kind of getting, did you ever get sidetracked, or how did you stay away from that?
Uh, well, it was quite easy because being the youngest meant also I wasn't 21, and so and the beers were really light, especially in Utah.
Oh, the
And
beers.
yeah, the beers were what, 2%? Yeah, we
That's
learned
sick.
that at a young age. But no, I wasn't getting too sidetracked. Like I said before, there were like some careers that I followed up and was like, that was also mostly the talk about that I could listen to. I could not really actively partake other than funny talk in any conversations. So I just always kind of like listened and heard what this and that, and Blaze talking shit about that career or whatever. For example, yeah, like there's like some anecdotes that I still kind of think about and thought that was kind of funny. Where yeah, for example, uh, Blaze was like, they were like, Blaze told me this story about like Ville Luoma when
Oh
they were
yeah.
on silent, Ami Vuitalinen, and they were on silent snowboards, and Ville would come up to him as like, as a foreigner, hey, why? How come you're earning more money when I write better than you? Things like that. So it's like, oh yeah, that's harsh, but Blaze always had like, I always respected you know people that have also a bit of that manager role, like to keep a team together, and so it's not that easy. And that you know part of like half the gratitude to my career goes towards blood or people that were working in the companies that trusted and believed in me and so on. So try to, through the work ethic, give some of that back. But yeah, it was generally there's yeah, I did not get too sidetracked except snowboarding.
Everybody is grateful that you did not get sidetracked, because you had the best snowboard career maybe ever. So thank you for not, trying heroin and just throwing your life away.
Yeah.
Okay, you announced that you got Rookie of the Year. Coming from,
In Las Vegas, which was crazy.
let's
I
talk
mean,
about that.
I there.
Getting the award, Rookie of the Year. How was that night for you?
Oh wow, yeah, you want to know?
I do.
Well, as a young Austrian, that was yeah. I think the movie Hangover comes close to it in like what surreal world it can be, um, if you really follow your vision of it, it being a special time. No, yeah, that was yeah. So, I mean, there was the SIA in Vegas, and everything was really crazy, and the industry was at, I would say, at some change, but still at some high point. And so, yeah, like all my dreams came true that night, one night.
Dude, I can only imagine what it was like
from
to be a pro
from
snowboarder.
limo love to everything.
Yeah, dude, like 1990. I feel like 90. Wendy, you were in the heyday of snowboarding. What time frame would you say was the true heyday of snowboarding, when Trans World Awards were crazy, people were showing up in limos, people were making money, the snowboard companies were making money, and there was just, rock stars? Like, what do you think? 98 to 2005, or?
Yeah, it was around 2000 when that older guard, like what I said about the global team in Burton, when you know uh, contracts got a bit like capped, and all older pros like, let's say, Terry and Michael Chuck, uh, they just had their peak and their ceiling, and it was kind of like that younger guard of Roman DeMarchi and us coming up. Um, well, yeah, UC, like just so
Oh,
many Europeans. I mean, it was crazy, I guess, for us.
Nicholas. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, Nicholas came a bit later on Burton, I guess, but it did the same effect. I mean, that from 2000 on, it was a bit that time where I don't know. I guess yeah, the performers kind of showed up.
Yeah, dude. You
All
get
the Finnish.
the
I
Burton
don't.
crew, I mean, and the Forum crew back then, it was insane. Like,
Yeah, I guess it all shifted from competition. Oh yeah, that might have been it in the background. ISF died away. There were some show events, but in general there was not any prize monies anymore. It was all incentive based and work ethic, and probably everybody with the big check up until then was not hungry anymore. And it was us that kind of came up through that. I mean, the what was it? Resistance, True Life. That must have been that time, where they were like that untouchable stardom of like
oh yeah.
uh those guys. And yeah, we were just a bit more, I don't know, I guess with Kingpin especially, we were more in the yeah, grimier zone. Yes, and making
Grimier
fun of
zone.
things, making fun of things, and yeah,
So I
questioning everything a bit more, but altogether making a career out of it. Was
your transformation or whatever you want to call it, going from Kingpin, which is the sickest, um, to I mean, you start kind of messing around with Absinthe too at this time. Did you have a preference of which one, if you could have picked like keep filming with Kingpin or keep filming with Absinthe, was there one that you enjoyed filming for more or, Absinthe being always like a little bit more European, I feel like.
yeah, and Absinthe started around that time, beginning of 2000, and that was probably because they were more European in the limelight, and yeah, with Kingpin, I don't know what happened, but I guess it all kind of like changed and transformed. I was filming, 3 or 4 video parts a season. So I was spending my time abroad in the US to film for Kingpin. When I came home, I was filming Absinthe, and with my friends, the Pirates, started to formulate. So it became this very video-driven careers.
And when was your first part in Absinthe? Transcendence, or is there one before that I'm missing?
Mm, there was, but I wasn't in it. It was a
Okay,
black
your
box.
first part was Transcendence then.
Transcendence had some European writers in it, like Volle and the Statiker guys, or some Scandinavians like Peter Strom. And I was in the next one, I would say. There was some in Transcendence, I remember. But
I just
probably the
remember you had
next
this
one was what?
crazy ollie.
Saturation?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
You know the ollie
An
I'm talking
ollie,
about? The ollie from like you like
world
ollie from
famous.
a cliff into like onto like a pillar that's like a pillow field and you like revert in the landing, but it's like
Ah, yeah,
super
that's the
sick.
Monkey Hill in Lux. Yeah, that was
Like,
Transcendence. That was
that
one
cliff
session,
is
one afternoon with Nicholas riding there. Nicholas got like the pleasure cover out of that called Hellraiser. It's like this
I don't
sick
remember that,
method.
but
Yeah,
so
that was in the same zone. It's where Lux Park runs now, where the side hit like transition kind of starts. It's like this pillar called Monkey Hill. And when we were like going there, Nico popped all these cool mushrooms, and I was hiking the ridge line and seeing this one gap to, like, uh, yeah, this pillar, and there was a gap in between, and so it looked like a alpine chip. That's kind of like what I was like. I mean, I need to ride it, try something. And my head was I could probably 180 onto it, and sure enough, I walk up close to it. It's much bigger, landing totally flat, but oh yeah, I claimed that I would do it, so I might as well just ride down it. and went down into the landing, exploded. It, check in a box, come back out with a 180, and kind of still kept riding. But
Oh, it was sick, dude. I say count it.
it would have counted in my head cinema, in my head,
It's all
head
about.
vision. But yeah, it's all about going and growing in your knees.
Oh man.
Taking chances left and right.
You got to do what you got to do these days. A question I had for you is, you had such a long stint on Burton. I mean, like you said, juggling 2 video productions. Was there a highlight that you can kind of remember on being on Burton, that you're like, wow, that was like my favorite time on this company?
It was the rider-driven aspect, like what Jake has given us so many times, carte blanche on, giving riders input, and those roundtables really, making us feel or be part of it. I have to put it to the Unink days, which went for, I don't know, a long time. So it went 5 years, 6 years, which is well over like a product cycle. What do you call it? Product cycle. I kind of felt like, so I've been in this rider-driven program like 7. We got to give all the input and work with artists, with the graphic guys, with coming up with our themes for the ads and things, that just put another spin to what you could already create throughout like a video part, like, showing your personality. Even though I did not have one, I was just snowboarding,
Yeah, you
trying to
did.
find my
Happy
way
hour? Are
and
you
meet
kidding?
people. I was like trying to meet people. Yeah, happy hour. I already kind of knew the area and things, and times where I could fit in. It was always about like, I was just a tag along guy. I was like, sure, like, meeting Peter Line and Garfunkel's, that took a long time till making it to Canada, where the drinking age was lower. You actually got to go out and meet like people apart from your crew.
You met Peter
And
Line and Garfinkel's. We can't just fly by that story.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, Canada was interesting. There was definitely more of the, yeah, party and the hard work stuff going into it. I mean, going out and then getting on the snowmobile for the first time and being out there with, yeah, DCP at that time. What were we filming? I think must have been Brainstorm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Brainstorm was. So it was really Scotty Whitlake's initiative and dream to get Brad and plan this snowmobiling trip to Canada, get up to, I don't know, Callahan, and like just get out there, even though he was kind of like Tahoe, wood rail, chibber, and punk, and doing just the 180s off cliffs. He wanted to go to Canada, and yeah, we were up there with Chad Otterstrom, and we drove all the way from Tahoe, and that was that time when they were yeah, everybody was filming there. Everybody's always filming there, or isn't it? Maybe not last season, but usually that's where video parts were made.
Yeah, I think
In
at the end
Canada.
of 2017 or 16, I think there's a lot less snowboard crews out in the backcountry in Whistler. But before then, it was like every single crew was going out to Callahan or Brandywine or whatever.
And now there's more money to earn on big airs and
Totally.
parks.
Follow
So
the money. No, no. How did the trip go? Scotty Whitlake drags all you guys up north. Did you guys crush? I mean, Brainstorm is
um,
obviously super sick.
yeah, yeah, we got to, like, I got introduced in what it takes to, film a video part in Canada, which was always, kind of like the status of good video parts was you had to, be filming in Canada, film some pillows and whatnot. And yeah, that was showing me the path, the Northwest Passage, which then later came to the ultimate with Absinthe, which then, drew the line of deciding between Kingpin or Absinthe was with Absinthe, you could just, I definitely found that I wanted to become a better snowboarder, and it wasn't going to be in the park, so I was going to be in the backcountry
which
and
is a
the
heavy
Northwest.
decision to make back then.
Well,
I feel like lots of people were like, "Oh, I'm park rail guy and stuff," and I feel like
yeah.
backcountry back then there was like there wasn't
I
that
always,
many
I
people
always,
doing
I
anything.
always felt there was something odd with me. In general, I basically could not comprehend one thing and connect the dots or whatsoever, except that I wanted to become a better snowboarder because eventually that would lead into longevity in this path, this career that I felt like I was making money. I had creative freedom. Uh, my nickname was making its way around. So yeah, there was just something I could hold on to. And to become a better snowboarder was for me the one asset that I should not have passed. And
Okay, here's a really good question. What year did you feel like you unlocked your like fullest potential? I mean, I feel like, you're a phenomenal snowboarder since day one, but I really feel like, once you start going with Absinthe, there was like a click one year where you're like, I figured out how to snowboard. Like you leveled up so big, like big lines, like you got so much better in those years of Absinthe. I feel like it just was insane. You went from being like at one of the best snowboarders ever still, but like your overall backcountry skills, I feel like every single avenue, whether it was pillows, whether it was lines, whether it was jumps, it's like you figured out how to ride all terrain and be like a like the best at each. It was insane. So did you have a year where you're like, in 2005, I felt like I unlocked, you know, my best abilities? Because I feel like at one point it was just literally like you opened Pandora's box and then everybody else just kind of was like, holy shit.
well, it might have come with that commitment of wanting to become a better rider. And if I can't handle a terrain, it means that I am a bad rider. Like I need to get better. So the terrain I got put in or put myself in dictated that, the level. And when I felt uncomfortable, I did everything I could to like, uh, yeah, become better or like at least uh, figure out the Rubik's cube to things and learn. But all credits go to the filmers. They must have make me look the way you see me. Okay, so anything I told you about, being involved in the design and everything, the the board is under my feet to, the picture I wanted to give to, the magazines or and work with the photographer and what the terrain provided. That's all an accumulation to what it came to be. But I always thought I'm not good. I always wanted to be better, and I saw that others were doing really neat and incredible stuff. And like riding with Wole Newvelt in AK, I knew that we were both like intimidated and riding with a lot of fear in the beginning, but we found our ways and like we got lucky sometimes. And then we figured it out, where the safe spots are or what things look good on video, which are not necessarily needing to be a line that Tom Burt would step on, and like you need to be a mathematic phenomenon to really write it calculated. But but yeah, got to learn about that environment, and that's been, the strongest hold to that. And I still want to do things that maybe even, others inspire me to, or like others do. So I guess I compare myself a lot. That's
That's
it. And so I never tell like, okay, I got this. I'm not never comfortable
that's
ever.
interesting to hear from somebody like yourself, who is one of the best snowboarders in the world, to think like, oh, I'm not that good. Like I'm still drawing inspiration from my peers, and I want to get better, which I
Yeah,
think is the only
but maybe I just been really, really scared. Or maybe even shit my pants, not literally, but in in my, gut feeling got definitely turned upside down a couple of times. So I tried to keep this for myself, but it is it makes the world a little bigger place to not be like on top of everything, but still find your niche. I just like snowboarding for what it can be, and the angle you work with a crew that provides security on the hill. They're basically my spotters, and then just find this nice something to do that I know I got it, but then I try the next more difficult thing, which is just over the line of the comfort zone. So that's maybe where you can push things. And it's still up to this day, it's the most difficult is, landing something first try. I always thought that after being a while in Canada that you guys hit the same spot for so many times, let's say,
yes.
and it was, like that threw me for a spin. Like, is it just kind of like cheating? Because I come from an era where in the 90s with skateboarding, you knew that, staircases, you had to do different tricks. And the same was it with me with the spots in Tahoe. I knew that, half dome has been backflipped by rocket reefs. I will not try to recreate that. I will try to do something else, like a half cap down, half cone. I thought half cap down, half dome felt quite fitting. So that was my approach, and I applied that to everything, just to uh, take that reference into choices of tricks or adding up difficulty, not to just to make it easy on myself, but take take that notion
Totally.
into
I
video
agree.
filming.
And I think that we actually have that discussion a lot filming in Whistler, because a lot of the features that we inevitably hit have been hit, especially this past season with the restrictions of COVID. We actually just had to film in Whistler, and we didn't have the opportunity to even explore, Revelstoke or Whitewater, or go up north, which we typically do, or even go to like Japan or Europe, etc. And so we really had to spend the whole season out in Whistler. And, we're out there with the younger kids like Sean Miskman and Mikey Cicerelli, that are the next upcoming Burton kids. And as well as seeing, like Renzi and Sollers up there, who Mikey, I might add, is just a pioneer at finding new zones in Whistler. He's
How
constantly,
exciting is that when you
it's
just
so,
can go free ball and you
yeah,
don't have to think about, oh man, 80, no, that's stupid.
90.
98, 98, UC already switch backs at
Oh,
9, this thing. So
exactly. So we this year, I'm not going to say I probably am guilty of doing some tricks that have been done on the
yeah,
same spot,
retro is in kind of, but
but I
it's hard to
try,
keep a
I
timeline as well.
and I watch like a lot of snowboard videos, but I try to always do um a different trick. Like if we go to a spot that I know has been front sevened, I'll be like, okay, Mickle front seven tailed this. I'm gonna do a front seven indie, just so
Yeah,
like it's not the same
and
trick.
hold it a tad
It,
longer.
yeah, exactly. Or like to me, that's a different trick completely. You know what I mean? If the grab's different. But
Mhm.
I do think, when you're going somewhere like Forum step down, Lucas Huffman step down, or the Hollywood Cliffs or any of Whistler's like staples, it is like it's kind of out of
It's like
respect that
coming home.
I think it's kind of like, I don't know. I've tried to
Well,
not film the same tricks on those spots that, like, you know, if Cale Stevens did a switchback 7 on Hollywood Cliffs in like, you know, 2004, I'm not going to go and do the exact same switchback 7 off the same thing. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Or at
yeah,
least
you can exclude maybe 2 locals. Now, the thing at that time was
it's
there were
debatable
so many
though.
crews out there, and
Yeah.
now you're like more like, you know, cruise me, and like back then it was a race to the spot, and that kind of feeling,
Big time.
and
Now it's just us.
and progression had other you know takes that it does nowadays. Nowadays you kind of like look for, you know, untracked and like beautiful cinematography, because the cameras are, and the whole thing is just in totally different direction from where it was. I don't know how actually skating does nowadays, if there is,
No, I think
I don't
it's
know
skating has stayed true to what you were saying at the beginning, is like you find new spots, and if you go to a spot that's been hit forever, you have to do a different trick. A
yeah,
question I would have for you is like there's a jump.
part of respect.
Yeah, totally. Like, okay, so you have perfect jump, like one of the most classic Whistler backcountry jumps that Cale Stevens, all the Wildcats, uh, Chris Duffy, Trevor Andrew, Mikey Renz, Aero Niemela all have like hammer clips on. And then you have the new generation. They all just want to hit that jump because it's kind of like, I just want to hit it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like they should at least switch up the tricks and the grabs, or do you think, you know, like I know that
Oh, definitely
Mikey
not.
Renz.
Like, for sure. I mean, even Walker grabbed almost all the way through. What was it? A 7 or a 10? I don't
Pardon
know.
me?
Like if you let go you know your grab like over perfect jump early should not even count. The cinematographer should know. Just stop.
Yeah,
You have to go back up and do it again. Now, it's perfect jump is the perfect example, I guess, where you need to, maybe it should be like in a video game, you just earn kind of like your special credits if you do a new trick, this one trick or in your own style on that spot. You know, it's like certain areas, I guess, with so much heritage or history that should, you know, be known to the people. If they make the race to that spot, they should know. But it used to be like that, where you actually only the one who knows gets there.
totally. Oh yeah, you go to like the Hurley step down, and JP Walker at 5 a.m. beat you up there, and he's on top of it. Or, you know,
Yeah,
you
he
go to
knows what
Hollywood.
he's gonna do.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. I think that if you're going to a spot that is an iconic spot, that if you're going to film on it, everyone knows that that's perfect jump. I think the next generation should do a different trick that's never been done on it. And I am not going to say that I'm
So
not guilty for
they
doing
should
that.
go back to school
I
for
think
that
that
one.
if you're going to go and hit perfect jump, you should
You need
bring
to
a
do some
different trick,
studies.
because the Burton actually filmed for the Burton movie last year on perfect jump. And I'm not sure if it's the same grab. I'm not even going to mention his name, but Mikey Renz does the biggest front 1080 double melon on it, like ever, in 2013 or something like that.
Yeah,
And it is, and he built it like when Mikey was in his prime, he was going massive, and he does it, and
I
he
think
got
I
like,
have it in my head. Yeah.
yeah, and then they built the jump a little smaller for the Burton movie. You can tell it wasn't as big, and
To do
another
cab
front 10
nines,
double.
nose.
And
Okay.
and yeah, and the cab nine's a crazy one too, because I mean Duff did it first off the toes, and then Trevor, I think, did it. Or Trevor, yeah, I don't know. Trevor did back one and cab 7 on it. I forget. But it's been cab 9 a bunch, but with different grabs. You know, Belzil's back tended, Aero Nimela's switch back tended. If you're a kid, you got to go
Oh
there and get
yeah,
something new.
Niemela was one of the kids I
Oh,
came
Nimela's
up
got,
throughout. Definitely. Yeah, Niemela was one like I could not understand his talent.
Yeah, he had
Like
great
being
style.
being up filming Canada. I mean, yeah, that that was a solid era of guys, and they're like same age, I would say.
Oh yeah,
Up.
like Mikey, Ika,
Yeah,
that whole
exactly.
crew.
Hmm.
Yeah, Craven and all those dudes. But yeah, I agree. I like that we touched base on that. So would you say that if you're going to a staple spot, you should bring a fresh trick to the spot?
Yeah, at least if you're not familiar with it, the cinematographer maybe should be. I mean, if you're already getting there, it's proven that you know where you're going. If you find it by accident, you probably build it another way and direction. But if you build it the same way, then you already should know what, you know, needs to be done, that you're in for the mission to up the stakes, guess.
Yeah, bring
Yeah.
something fresh. I mean, and you guys as Europeans, I would say like your crew. I know it's not necessarily your crew year in and year out, but people that I would say that have had the same longevity as you, someone like Nicholas or Vole or whatever, I really do think that you guys find some of the coolest, freshest spots year in and year out. And you can go and watch all your video parts and they all look completely different.
Yeah. Yeah, that there was this time where you could recognize the same spots in every video part and who hit it. But yeah, that was when I found the Northwest Passage, basically. That was between Happy Hour and Brainstorm. That took place then. And I knew that, that was the way I wanted to go with my snowboarding, was be capable of riding Canada, not necessarily the snowmobiles, but to ride the snowboard. I used snowmobiles to get from A to B, but from then on, I was fine with hiking, doing it in the Euro way, just not to sink snowmobile and spend my day on using my energy for that. But sure enough, Absinthe brought me to AK, which was when I kind of, yeah, there was no more bullshit after that. It
Yeah,
was
you unlocked
what
God mode. And I mean, let's get into that. I
and
mean,
that's where it's easily explained if you have been listening to our talk. But the whole travel budget it got saved up for
Alaska.
springtime to go to Alaska. So you just put all your eggs in one basket and went for that for your video part. That's that was the investment you took was, and that made us become better snowboarders at first, and also delivered some crazy adrenaline rush, and that has just done it.
I've heard through the grapevine that DCP has like puked on top of lines. I don't actually know if that's true or just
But you
ancient
never
wise
heard
tale.
DCP cough. I don't know, the black comp when he's on top of a drop in. I guess his bronchs are tightening up, and he has to cough it off his chest when he gets nervous. That's kind of what he said. And when he's really nervous, his coughing goes all the way to, I guess, having a breakfast burrito would do it. The whole.
All
Oh
right,
yeah.
let's okay, Burton, insane times, Unink,
Yeah, with
the best of
Roman.
times. What was it like to we touched base, I feel like, on how amazing the Unink times were, and it all comes kind of to an end. How does the end of Burton come to be? I mean, like, why did
Um,
it end? And then you mean your transfer to Volcom?
I actually had still option year up my sleeve, but I
Oh, you didn't get dropped.
I
Nice.
no, I was not getting dropped when the others did from the crew. So the yes guys got dropped. I had my choice to keep going with Danny Davis on a new project, but after Unink being it unincorporated and not like I felt like I cannot stick with a corporation and to put another product on the market, the product being, basically creatively, what's inside. But with Anink, we just made such a big statement, and we really lived through that. And we basically, the deal with Anink was uh, we were not getting any royalties on the boards and whatnot. If you want to know contract insights, never got royalties through Burton, but we got to have the ad spots in the major magazines, so we could have first pages on Snowboarder Mag and put our ideas and concept to life on through Anink. So it was heavily like our baby.
Totally. And so when that
So
ended, you were like, I'm out of here.
yeah, I felt I could not, go on with, like, bring another product cycle after 7 and Anink having, had that extensive life actually, because it used to be like 3 to 4 years, and then the product had to be something fresh for the shops and the whole story. It was, but
Can't imagine
we did
leaving
pretty
Burton
good.
was easy.
Huh?
I
What's
said, I
that?
can't imagine leaving Burton was easy. You're like, all right, I'm out.
Well, we did want to make an Ink movie pretty badly, and that was another thing that came into the equation of leaving, because an option year means that if you can only leave when another company brings in a comparable offer. So that was my lucky draw, that I had Volcom manning up and giving me a movie budget, and that's how 9191 came about. Was
The sickest
basically that
movie ever.
that I that I that Volcom provided the ace in my sleeve to leave Burton. Was not going to give me a movie, so that was the breaking factor.
And that was
And
enough for you to do it because you wanted to make a movie so bad.
that was, but Volcom had no board program. And I felt like I wanted, to steer my 5 cents into that, and I thought that that would be kind of like more like a job, a future, because since I was a kid, I've seen all the riders and careers kind of transitioning into like a job at Volcom or some future, and maybe that had stuck with me at that time around like 2009 when I made that decision, and it felt good. I mean, I always wanted to ride Volcom outerwear. I got, you know, all those, like, basically I checked a box in my list that I've done Burton to that extent of where I was completely happy, and it felt like awkward to keep going. And because of repetitiveness, so I tried to reinvent and kind of like try something to look on the other side, which is basically what, yeah, I always try and do. Look around the corner. Is there something else
That's
I could
really,
find?
really smart. I've heard it sounds like a lot of people who've really achieved big success. I've heard Devin say this too about like his forum days and then transferring over to DC. I mean, Sean Pettit, who I just had on the podcast, who's one of the world's best freestyle skiing, said that he just got bored at one point of being with the same brands and it becoming super repetitive. So I thought that was really interesting that you kind of felt that you had achieved everything you were going to achieve at Burton and it was time for a new change. And I think that look for you when you switched over to Volcom was super fitting. Like I never really loved that crazy outerwear, but I loved it on you. I thought it looked so sick on you
Yeah,
when I was a
yeah.
kid. And I mean, let's talk about 9191, which is I would say one of the best snowboard movies for freestyle backcountry ever made ever. It's so good that first segment. I mean, Jake Price. Let's touch base on 9191.
Yeah. So Billy Anderson, another great human that I got to meet throughout. I actually met him on my very first trip. Was talking about to Japan to the Nippon Open, and them being with Jeffy on the team, and living through hell when we experienced his death when we were there actually. and yeah, goosebumps. But
Yeah,
with
rest in peace.
yeah, and yeah, got all kinds of memorabilia with him, and that was a really tough time. And going off your question,
No,
sidetrack,
dude,
but
do it.
something heartfelt happened there. I kind of was lost in this pro world circuit because I was thinking of like, what if, which have could have happened many times. What if I would not come home, from being out there in the world, traveling, pursuit of snowboarding and this career? I was like, wow, life is very, sensitive, and we're like partying our way through around the world, promotion tours, and living this rock star kind of life, and kind of careless too, um, about like sensitive stuff. But that was during that time anyway, a bit of
No,
what
no,
has
dude.
come to
Yeah.
me. And yeah, 9191 was definitely a tribute in many ways to, like I said, Volcom has been accompanying me since all my, snowboard fantasy started, and the creative lifestyle, mixing music, skateboarding, and everything all together, and idols, and so on. Come around with Billy Anderson, and him, basically extending his hand to making that project happen. Uh, he, I think, ticked many boxes as well, but one was a fortunate one for me was having Jake Price and his multiple cameras, and that was just yeah, kind of like I took him as a young filmer, not knowing what he's doing for some part, but same was I, and we were embarking on this 1 year mission to do a movie, and I'm looking back at these puzzles and trying to put them together. But yeah, we were definitely living the dream, and cannot even yeah. So my writing at that point has landed in AK, being at that point. It's just kind of like where I thought the crazy shit will go down, and actually went up there and brought Jake Blowelt. And
I
one of
remember.
the one of the things that I was asking Billy around October after our first shoot in New Zealand, and it was really go time to plan the season for 9191 and filming. One thing I was asked, so what should this movie be? Should this be like a company movie? Like which team writers doing? And his reply was like the best, and it knocked me out of my socks. Was just do whatever the fuck you want with it. I'm like, oh shit, okay, I can choose whatever writers. And so yeah, Jake Blowelt, and I mean Blair, we
Nicholas
we went
Bole
for our
Blair. Yeah.
first trip for them to AK. I was there before, but the years before, but yeah, that was interesting to then see also, their writing being shaped by that.
Big time.
And I don't know, I mean, I kind of like just like always been taking every opportunity I could get to, find and build my video part and do that trick. And the ender at 9191 was really just trying a trick and did not even come around to what I had envisioned, but it
The
always
switch
like
backside 180 onto like switch back one
onto the
half cab.
cornice. Yeah.
That was
And it was,
so sick. What were you
and it
trying?
was, yeah, I was certainly trying to keep the cornice there in place because if it would have rolled it. So low impact riding, but it what I like about it, and I kind of like started to build and try to build my video parts with that was in timely manner, like like throughout the season, and just so it would kind of end with AK at the end because it's in spring. But what I'm trying to say is like um, tried like not to pick it too far apart, but keep the vibe in the same areas. And I
Totally.
think that shows really well because 9191 was shot within a year, and it's a full video. It has its own soundtrack, which is
Amazing.
composed by Baron and some crazy stack of
I
musicians.
mean, the music is so sick. It launched you, I feel like, into before Travis Rice and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Was like Travis. I feel like that was you were like the dude who had filmed a full movie that had shattered everybody's brains. I mean, like, and not only did it
Did
put
it
you
really?
on the map,
Yeah.
I think so. And then Jake
Uh,
Price also got put on as like I don't
Deserved
know. He just
pass.
went from being like
Gon-
Jake
the
Price to
Gonzo
like
artist. Yeah.
legendary filmer.
Well, I think it's definitely something that was. It's more in the ethic of what we were talking about before, like a um, keeping track of history and so on. It's comes out of that, in the part of being independent and like to shape your career yourself, to the applicable to that vision that you you know see fitting from the inspiration. So uh, what comes around goes around kind of thing. And I've always felt like I was thrown in with such a mix of credible, uh, writers and like mix of people. I've always, that's like you cannot just make yourself bigger than you are, then just swim with everyone. And that was snowboarding for me. It's
I
like,
think you did for Billy Anderson to give you the free reins as somebody who is working up as somebody who
yeah,
has
and
the
at that
power in
time, at
Volcom to give that.
2010, that I was sincere. Budget household. It was like, just do whatever the fuck you want. It's like,
Yeah, that's
ew.
crazy that he. But I mean, in order for him to say, "Hey, Gigi, just do whatever," he probably knew that you were somebody at this point that could get the job done. You know what I mean? He wouldn't have just been like, "Do whatever," if you were like, this immature kind of partier that would just party the season away and have like. In order for you to film a full length movie one season with Jake Price and also not to overlook the fact that you said Jake Price was kind of like a rookie at this point in like,
Yeah, but
backcountry
he
filming.
got Billy's trust.
No, for sure.
Uh,
I mean, both you guys after that movie must have had
we
Billy's trust because you got Rider of the Year after that, if I'm correct, right?
I don't know,
I think
but
in
I think it
2000
was pretty big. I mean,
I think
I had
2014
my
you got it.
season. That's back to your question. When I felt like uh,
You
I was
unlocked your
really
fullest
really
potential.
happy. Yeah, I think. I mean, that was my time to shine. It was like that season for like this is what I've been waiting for.
You had the money, you had the backing, you had the skills. You're like, let's fucking do this.
Yeah, 100%. It's like no question about that. And I've just been uh, a new dad at that point. I was like, I was going out all,
You were
yeah,
riding that shit as a new dad? Shit, dude.
yeah.
Were you ever standing on top of some of those lines like, well, maybe I shouldn't because I'm going to be a father?
No, actually, I got to know that I was becoming a father when I was on a AK trip, so I was very familiar
With the feeling.
with that feeling, seeing
How
whales
do you
reach,
navigate
just like a
that
dream
feeling?
up there. What's that?
As being a father, I mean, how do you navigate that feeling of, something could go wrong here, and how do you kind of suppress that and just focus on the task at hand, which is snowboarding?
Uh, in the last 10 years, I probably have not given that any thought at all. I've
That's what you
gotten
got
that
to do.
question at the beginning, but I was a new dad at that time, so nothing has changed for me. I mean, change comes after a long time, I guess. But yeah, my son is now 12, So maybe the last 2 years I was like, yeah, where and but that goes all together with snowboarding a bit, being especially with video production, which I've kind of like found my home in snowboarding. Come to be as 20 years being basically trying to do multiple video parts a year, where cinematography has become more and more, precise and like very, dictating more, so that where it's becoming different again. But all this technology media part is evolving and changing it so much that in the last year was kind of maybe hard to find the niche in a way where um, kids are already writing really well, so I enjoy watching them. I guess I sound like I'm getting old, but I really love that part, and would not change anything that I've done so far in my
Good.
decision making process. It was always very well considered. So yeah.
A question I have, just out of curiosity, is how tall are you? How much do you weigh? Because I feel like you're a light little ninja out there who's always landing on your feet. I've heard Roman DeMarchi say this before, that you're like a cat. You know what I mean? Like you always land on your feet, and I feel like your agility. So like, I'd love to dive into how light you are and how like what's your diet? How do you stay so in shape so you can film, like you said,
Hey.
multiple video parts
Well,
a year? Like, what are you eating?
it's well, there is something to it that I think, which I guess more the European and the um, sort of writer has brought. You know, I guess you got to take Terrier at when he showed up. I guess he just brought that talent and that athleticism, which kind of like made us all kind of wanting to be the next Terrier at my time of upbringing. And I guess all that, agility and cat type style, that kind of like was something, you were trying to be. And so anything, me, I'm like 175 cms. I have no clue what that is. It's 5 feet something. Oh no, I ride a 158 always. 158, 159 is like the tallest I'd go on the board size. So I weighed 64, and when I'm in Japan, I drop a couple kilos
Because
because
of
I'm
hiking in
hiking
the
so
deep
much
pow.
and just eating rice, no more cheese and nothing dairy. No, I have no special diet at all. I
A
wish
little
I
bit of
could.
everything. Variety is the spice of life.
Yeah, and whatever my wife cooks.
Nice.
Okay.
So this whole Volcom thing transfers into a crazy time in your life. A crazy time for snowboarding when Nike first came together. Um, did they call you like, yo, this is Nike, we want to fucking give you a bunch of money, and you're like, all right, I'm in? Or like, how did Nike come together?
Yeah, like that. Not only my stunts, but all my path where is was very calculated, or is very calculated, and I put everything in consideration. I'm a Libra, if you want to know that. Also born in
What's
the same
Libra?
day as Libra, as in star sign,
Oh yeah, nice.
and or what's it called? A difficult word, but it I have the same birthday as Travis. Maybe that does it. Uh,
Dude,
I'm
you and
one day away
Travis.
from Terrier, and Roman is there too. And
You
I have this,
guys.
and Justin Hostenek.
When's your
So
birthday?
there's something about October, beginning of October,
Beginning
that
of
does it for
October.
snowboarders. So plan your kits wisely.
I honestly will. So that means I have to have.
Yeah, mark your
Uh,
calendars when you
all right, all right, all right.
put the
Tick,
cap off.
tick your
Go
boxes,
for
Dad. All right, where's this? Back to the
transceiver.
swoosh.
Yeah. So very well considered. Leaving Burton, it left me without boots and bindings, and I sure knew that I want to be involved with companies that it will become a handover from like rider driven. I wanted like I have a knack for like the early bindings where we were riding with moon boots in. It has done that whole tinkering about equipment and things. I'm just a geek in that, and I wanted to ride for companies that would allow me that, and not just like take me for. Oh, we got Gigi on the team, so
You
I
want to put
went
some
to
input
set.
in. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to set up my contracts spliced in two. It was one developer contract and one rider contract. So I really wanted to get into the nitty gritty with union bindings. And that's what, they welcomed me for. Changing Burton, like often you saw riders, even take Travis, or even back in the day, Jamie Lynn was riding metal bindings, but in the advertisement you could see he was on Burton bindings. So it was like that notion that I was like, okay, how come this happens, and that everybody talks shit about Burton, but they still write their bindings. And that was that time. And, I did not cut myself any slack, and want to, be component to the companies. And it was also that I was getting on Nike boots then. So I wrote Nike boots, Volcom outerwear, Volcom snowboards, which was only team boards, prototypes all the way, and I was still on Dragon. That was my set of sponsors. Uh, so when I left Volcom, I was already on Nike boots, so the change to outerwear was quite easy. They were not calling me out. It was like, oh, you're finally ready to get on the whole
The
kit,
program.
the whole program of Nike, and we're doing a movie.
Can
Never
you?
not. And I ended
I
last
don't.
part in that one.
I'm gonna ask just cause. What was the Nike paycheck? Can you say or?
Well, I do have the
They're
chair
done.
here that I signed the contract on. How is that? I have the pen from Burton that I signed the contract, and I do have the chair I signed the contract on at Nike. So they even sent me the Eames chair. I signed it on. I was the present. Well, I saved up always money. So money was never really an important fact, but it was definitely like, yeah, a good paycheck. And
I'm very happy
people
that they were paying you.
even like companies, when you were throwing Nike out there, everything looked different. Like everything became this weird color of like dreams started. Like for example, oh, you're with Nike. Like for example, one thing, let's say, yeah, in the binding sector, like even like the rubber, the EVA, like could we do something, that crosses over some products, and like this whole power Nike has in terms of, athleticism and being accepted in the sport and all this. It always kind of put like a crazy spin to it, and we were still like those riders that were in the videos. We were not like the Olympic riders, but
I heard some stories about.
that was weird. But in general, um, it wasn't easy to leave Volcom. But one thing was for sure, that that it was because of the snowboards. It was not going anywhere. Plus Nike. I'm sorry. That was a tough time leaving Volcom, because Volcom at that point went to the Wall Street, and so it wasn't any different than
Publicly
Nike in
traded.
my terms. So all that, put the budget for skateboarding, surfing, and all the action sports Volcom was householding with, into a quarterly thing on Wall Street. Like they had to quarterly tell how much they earned. So
Yeah,
everything
their
was
earnings.
always frozen, and you could not plan ahead anymore, really. And just things started to be really weird. And the snowboard program wasn't going anywhere like I was wishing for when I left Burton. So I thought like, okay, I've realized everything I wanted in snowboarding. I've done the awning part. I left Burton because of that. I've been on Volcom, which was like since the early days, my people. And I felt like, you know, I was literally going into Volcom when I was opening the door. The like Tucker Hall, who was one of the founders, had went out of the door. He was like, "Oh, I'm off to the Caribbean. I just sold my shares of Volcom," and things were starting to, you know, become a different spin there and dynamics and yeah. However, I was at Bob Face for the Supernatural, and
The first one
the first one
in
I
2012.
was already without a contract, and I had promised with Volcom with Jake Price to film Real Snow, Backcountry. So talking about, you know, being considering I'm a dad, I had no contract. I was filming Real Snow Backcountry. Landed on the podium with it. Was filmed with mini bike. I like said I was riding on Volcom outerwear. I was riding my first prototype of Slash, and I was 2 months like doing that. Then I got invited to Supernatural, where I got second place without a contract, no board sponsor, no outerwear, nothing. And on ball place, I asked everybody from the Volcom guys, from Brian Iguchi to Mike Perillo to Jamie Lynn, asked them what I should do, and if you know I had an offer from Nike and so on. So asked everybody, and everybody told me obviously stick with Volcom, like, you know, like that, like Nike and whatsoever. But I had to look after my family at that point. I felt like, man, I don't think Volcom is going anywhere when they are you know, owned by Puma. And what is Puma different than Nike? You know, shit. I'll go and
Totally.
film my next video part, and that's on the Nike. And I teammates with Nicholas and all these guys, and gonna go and do that. And I was already on the boots. And sure enough, after landing second place in Supernatural, Nike picked me up, and that was a good angle to negotiate. And I know I bought a house after that. Yeah.
My man.
Well, I'm living here.
Yes. Thank you, Nike.
Yeah. And
That's
Burton,
yeah.
everybody, like every single person I've met throughout made it possible for me, because I, you know, I inherited, you know, that presence of, you know, the dream that I like
You
did
put
not
your blood,
give
sweat,
in.
and tears into this thing. You had
Yeah,
to
but it
miss your
never
mom on
felt
the
like that.
road.
It never felt like that for me. It was just opportunities, one after each other. It was like, even, yeah, the simplest things.
All right. So now that we touched base on natural, or the first one, I think it was called ultra natural, and you take
That
home,
was the second one,
okay, because you take the
you know,
silver the
because
first year and the gold.
yeah. So I was on the Nike team then, and obviously I was visiting Nicholas, and at his home in his castle, and I Nicholas was saying, I like, you got second, I got third. Travis won. It's Travis competition. Like, there's no way we could do any better. And like, sure come like the year. we were competing. I won. Did Nicholas got second or something? Or Brian?
I
I
feel
don't
like
know.
Brian Fox got third, Nicholas
Third,
got
yeah.
second, and you got
Yeah.
first.
Yeah. See? So it
It
totally came
worked.
true, but like we can't do any better. But it happened, it was crazy.
Oh
And
man. And
yeah.
you and Nicholas, you guys have been friends for a long time. What is it like to hang out with that individual? I don't know him too well. I've met him a handful of times. Seems like an amazing guy.
Yeah. With Nicholas, yeah, excellent snowboarder. So take me back to when I was 16. So 96 Junior World Championships in Telluride, whatever. It was him riding the pipe, doing the big hocking flip on a Palmer board. Like he, was a Lux local. They have had the pipe dragon, which by the way changed everything in
Oh,
snowboarding pretty
yeah.
much because yeah, I still dig my transitions myself or use the snowboard to chisel things, but kids nowadays they don't do that. But Nicholas just, he had like that terrier talent. However, he just could do it. Big old hack and flips. And uh, yeah, so I've gotten to know him then. Always respected him so much for the talent. And whenever we were like thrown together in a pot to be filming, it was, like I was always looking at it like, oh, he's so good, and like had that Swiss Army knife, like cap spins, like you just have to do like this 180 that was like a 540 or something like that. Like just when you're upside down and you just have to extend your legs and it's just, yeah. Um, however, but like I always try to or be like a good component, but uh, he would never really visit me. Like there was always the snowboarding part, but well, and I would visit him, but he would tell me like he would come and say hello or what's up, but I guess he just was with the Swiss people more so, and yeah, we were thrown in same groups, but he is just much more precise of a rider than I am, just much more
Totally
talented.
different though. I would say that you guys have the same terrain choice. Nicholas is more like I don't
Super
know how to put it.
flowy.
Yeah,
He
he's
is
got like
mega
flowy,
flow.
but I think what made you the rider that you are today is the fact that your snowboarding
Poo
embodies
poo.
like this snowboard. You look like you to me look like the perfect snowboarder, and you are an amp too, which is the coolest thing ever.
Oh yeah. Yeah, hey, and how is that to show my kids nowadays I've been in a video game?
And it was the best
That's
snowboard
and
video
that's
game ever.
and that's when I made that like became part of that video game, which was during the Kingpin times and brainstorm getting to know people in Utah. That's where that game got developed and did my first vacation. My wife now down Moab. It was just like at that point, like I already thought about what would my kids think when like to be in a video game. Like video games never meant much to me, but at that point I was like, oh, this is gonna be something cool to tell later on.
I played you all the time, dude. I played
It's a
thousands of
pretty good
hours.
game. I mean, what my kids are playing now, Descenders or mountain bike games, it's quite the same map.
You want to know how big of a fan I was? I would play your song from Happy Hour, 99 Red Balloons, while playing you in Amp 2.
Yeah, nice.
Yes.
Wow.
And I would be like, oh, I'm going to do the sickest frontside 7 mute. Which brings
Yeah.
me to my next discussion with you, which is, you did ultra natural. You did incredible at both those events. Like we said, a gold and a silver at the first two in 2012, 2013. Travis, obviously busy, takes a little bit of a hiatus to go into today's natural selection, which you were invited to. Can you just take us through a little walk, what it was like to be re-invited 7 years later? and how it's changed and developed as a new, insanely cool event for snowboarding that I think snowboarders who film video parts are all truly behind.
Yeah. Well, to be invited, I mean, what I saw is like what it meant to like writers that are in a current career. I consider myself already having been lived through many of the stages I was explaining. It was like always like those decades. Um, and it is this year 30 years, 3 decades
Three
I've been
decades of
snowboarding.
filming,
No, filming more
or
like
just
two.
snowboarding.
Snowboarding, but
Oh man,
sucking it
somebody
all up
somebody
like you are
drop the
doing.
goat emoji right now.
You- being the being the snowboard yeah, nerd. But to be invited, I mean, I'm seeing like what Manford, Elias or Vernie and all the writers that this event is coming up, and then really getting the call to be invited was like, oh, nice, they did not forget about me, like, oh, awesome. And I'm like intricate as an when after Ultra Natural, I competed in the Freeride World Tour against Travis, and I had my yellow jersey, like yellow bib, and I had to hand it over to him. And at that point, I was like thinking, okay, this is like the official handover. And when Travis called me to invite me for natural selection, I was like, yeah, but like you've won the last one, so you're invited to this one. I'm like, yeah, but I've lost in the Freeride World Tour comp in Japan against you. Like that was kind of like has done it for me. But it's like, no, you're in it. I'm like, wow, cool, all right. Then you know, uh, I did not really prepare as but I felt like I should be a bit better prepared. I wish I prepared. I wish I could like be filming a sincere like a video part, because that's what brought me to that level in competition riding, was like going out riding every day. And it wasn't just a year for that, because COVID shut down everything the year before. Like already March, I saw there were like some Olympic trainings going on, which had a total different path. They must have had a letter with the 5 circles on top, and they got to go to do prime park sessions and so on. I felt like, man, they all got their air awareness and things. So I've really felt like, okay, but I wanted to be there, and it wasn't quite easy to get there. I mean, with all this uncertainty in COVID-19 times, we had to go to the embassy to actually make our way to the US, and to give this comp basically was a bit of an international feel. I felt like we had to jump through,
Oops.
a bunch to get there, and then I mean, it felt good because we were like you felt like a normal world again, like
Yes,
to be
thank
able
you.
to travel. But it was definitely something that felt like a privilege, to be an athlete at that point, because all the years before traveling, you kind of were like hiding that you're earning money with it, and this time it really just made it work that you were able to travel for like being an athlete. And
I think it was
that's
awesome because I mean, at that point, I mean, I don't care what your opinion is on COVID or whatever. At that point, the world needed to see like a group of people who share a common love, which is snowboarding, and just to inspire people. Like, there's so many people that just watched that event and were just like, you guys are outside on a mountain,
yeah,
so there's that,
yeah,
and it's like people needed that event to have like. I don't know. I watched it and I was like, thank the Lord, baby Jesus, for making this event happen, and
yeah,
and all these athletes get out and inspire people to go out and go snowboarding, to go out and get physical activity.
full
It
on
was
in all the
amazing.
respectful manners, and everything. That I mean, the conditions were just, I mean, they were meant to be. I mean, I don't know what Travis has done. I used to call that, yeah, we put, the the credit card deposit in there to get good weather. That was something like that. But it was really just all lining up perfectly for those uh, days, those 10 days weather window and what my travel was set for. In and out, it was like happening all the
Well,
way
let's
through.
be honest, it was not happening for you. You are
No,
first to go and there is a giant windstorm. I remember
it,
it like
I
water,
was
like
calling that.
heaving, dropping, and I was like, "Oh my God, can he wait? It's the windiest. There's is snow
Yeah,
blowing everywhere."
yeah. I loved it though. Like I don't know if I don't know.
And
There's
your front seven mute. Let's
uh,
we you know, you open up, you tee it off with one of your staple tricks that I would say you do better than anybody else. I
I
try
too.
to bite you really hard. That's one of those tricks that I'm like, I
Well,
want to look like Gigi, and you open it up with the front seven mute that went viral, broke the internet.
nice. Well, that's good. To hear these days that can happen. Yeah. To it came as a surprise too. I did not know what I was gonna do. As I was riding down through the storm, I managed to hit the eagle's nest, the crow's nest there, and obviously was aiming to do tricks on it and everything, but I just had to plow and kind of manage. And I should have went more fall line to begin with, but I saw all these opportunities, so I planned my run a bit, like a little bit of this and that, and like I know I could weasel into there and through the drone footage. Oops, all drone footage from the top. It looked like bigger alleys as you like kind of like prepare your runs with like the footage you get because you cannot really get into the course, which was much more difficult, by the way, in Baldface at Ultra Natural. That was really hard to even see because they did not even have good weather before to take pictures of the course. So you could see kind of like where the elements are, the features, but you could not see like any transitions to land in or any um, yeah of the terrain. It was all just kind of like white, and that's how it was when I was riding. I was like, I knew it was there, and I like had to navigate my run. And as I was riding down, I was like, okay, from this tree that I could see there in the dust, like from this tree, Trez had told me he had to hit that, gold jump. What was he called? I don't know. With that I hit with the frontside seven. And okay, took speed from there, but this is all fresh snow. It could be that there's like snow deposits there. I just take it straight from a little bit above. All this, running. It's like okay, I just hit it and spun around. I actually wanted to do a 1080, but at that moment you get off, you're like, no, what it's just what is, and I
Oh
brought it
man.
down. Yeah, I had bigger visions on it, but I just kind of like simmered it down as I was going down. It's like, okay, I know I maybe have the right speed, but I don't know how the takeoff will feel. So if it would have been firmer, I guess, on the way up, I could have winded up a bit more to do like a 10 or something. But this happens
I
after, I
wanted to
guess,
see the
a
front
long
seven
time.
mute, and I got it.
Yeah, nice. No,
All right.
I'm quite. What did not play in my cards was when I chose to go first. Obviously, was there was like all the starting list, and there were these heats. But what I did not get and understand is that our heat up to heat 4 had to start again at the beginning. So I basically had to write fresh lines all the time. I thought if I pick first here, everybody has to go, and
That would
then I
make
get to
sense.
go again. And that's what the numbers were, but I must have just missed out this information. But
So, how,
well, did not matter at the end.
do you feel like the event overall went pretty well? Did the were the overall vibes from the athletes like this event was amazing, or were there some frustrations with like You know, how did it run from the
No,
athlete's perspective?
I mean, what made me happy was like to hear from actually to get to meet, you know, and be around with Mark Landbeck. He gave me a lot of intel and things, and like kind of reflected the whole vibe that was going on, building it and everything. And so I was already looking for, if before he went, to, you know, get to meet him, since we have not been meeting much after Volcom, and we filmed 9191 a lot together. And he was part of the builder crew, and when he told me that the whole tent was shaking when I was doing the 7, the whole vibe got up. I was like feeling it, you know. That was really, really, really good. And you know, and when there's a big thing like that happening, everybody wants to make it happen, no matter what. You know, everybody's feeling with everybody, so the camaraderie and snowboarding is still in, you know, high ranks in every aspect. I'd say, like, if something would happen, everybody would help, you know, out. And um, yeah, so everybody was really stoked to get it done. In hindsight, I mean, there's some things you can, you know, talk bit
Fine tune.
shit, fine tune, or talk shit about, like, for example, like, you know, judging here and there. For example, I apologize to Travis because there's this feature called aircraft area, and since I could go first all the time, I in the mind of like a video, filming a video part, and what I said before is like, you want to, you know, get your things T. That's like that's putting another stamp on it, you know. And if you get it first try, so uh, being thrown in the water for it anyway and having to deal with it, I was like taking it as an extra motivation to like get FT, you know. And I cased the aircraft carrier for some reason, not picking the right alley on the way in. But I apologize to Travis to get like that. Like, it's such a nice landing. I mean, it's rock pillars on both sides, jump built into it. Beautiful feature, you know. I was like, just casing ruined the landing. I was like, oh, sorry. He's like, no, don't worry. And then, you know, seeing the competition evolve and everybody having their difficulties, I was like, oh, well, I think I managed pretty well for how fast it went, you know, being the first one out and having to go up and right again, go up and right again, and opening up these jumps I've never hit before, not even knowing exactly where they're going and leading into. Just glad I did not end up, you know, what could have been like a tree or something. And
Totally.
in then yeah, yeah, I compared it a bit with the judging that I've known from the Freeride World Tour. And you know, once you do bad or case it a bit, you know, you're kind of like done in the control aspect. But I felt like I could hold my stakes pretty well throughout the riding. And so I hope I'm invited again next year. That would be pretty crazy
I
to
think that
get
you
another crack to get to AK, you know, that. and and then yeah, that's another part of like AK, the terrain they were riding in. I wonder what I would have done there, you know. Just would like to be.
I think you would have done pretty well. I think it was a
I
pretty
don't know
fun.
if Travis would have been in the comp, if they would have selected some of that sick shit that he's riding in POV, usually up there, that we know of his videos. And if some of that would be a go, if you know, the circumstances are more open, you know, not to like with, you know, that previous accident on with the heli crash before, and COVID and everything has, you know, it's been incredible. They actually pulled everything off how they did. And
Big
I
time.
wonder how it would be, you know, even thinking about if, you know, I don't know. Sorry to say that out loud, but yeah. I don't know. Were there any riders missing?
I think there was definitely like 4 riders who like 100% should have been there, but definitely like a few, you know. I
And
thought it was
and Travis plans it to become, more of a worldly event.
I think that it'll
And
be
even
next year. I think that there'll be more because of the restrictions from COVID. Hopefully, will be a little bit easier next year.
yeah,
Um, the fact that they pulled it off this year in the peak or like of figuring out and juggling the new times that we're facing right now. The fact that they pulled it off, I'm only imagining that next year will be much easier. And I've heard from a few friends that are close with Travis that their intentions are to have a few more guys get invited. I thought not inviting Torstein was kind of crazy. Just, you know, you don't
yeah,
have to love his riding or whatever, but the way he's excelled in the backcountry the past 5 years, if you've overlooked that, you're just, I don't know. Like I ride the
yeah,
backcountry all the time, and his ability to ride pillows, natural terrain, like his, maybe he wouldn't be the best in AK, you know what I mean? Because he doesn't ride like a lot of big lines, but his freestyle ability to at that first stop, I think he could have easily won just like anybody who was invited there. I think there was, for the most part, every person who was invited there, if they had their on day and things lined up, had the potential to win. I think if Torstein was invited, he could have had the same potential as most of those guys to take home a win.
yeah. For me, it was Arthur,
Oh,
because
Arthur, I
at
heard
the
turned it
rank
down
he
though.
is at, huh?
I
He,
heard Arthur actually just turned it down, like didn't want to
yeah,
go.
yeah. But
But
in
Arthur
his
should have been
state
there
of
for sure.
professionalism,
Yeah.
for like, the diligence of a career, and you know being in the ranks of the sponsors and so on, there was no way I would have, turned it down in my path of the career in the past, just like, in terms of showing up. But I guess, yeah, the whole sport thing is there's the competition riders, and there can be the other,
I think he's a little bit of like an
lifestyle.
introvert and he's like pretty chilling, you know what I mean? And I think
But he
that
was on an
event,
Olympic team of
I
half
know.
pipe. Like when we filmed with him with the Pirates, he made the decision to be in the half pipe team rather than filming. And now it's quite the opposite. But um, that's just, like the natural selection does not have to be, the staple and that big of snowboarding either. I don't like to take things too seriously anyway. But the direction of the sport, the chance it gives, if you're not like, wanting to, join the Freeride World Tour, because there it's like alpinism, um, skiing and snowboarding. It's not delivering the clear picture. This is like the best thing next to everything
I
there
think
is
so too.
in terms of. But I'm after all coming from having decided to ride for Nike as well, so that, direction of a sport, and seeing that in skateboarding as well. um, it's a weird one, looking at, Olympics, and only those guys get to travel throughout these times. So there definitely is uh, something when you, I guess, how to drive the sport. There's one thing, like when you feed off it, there's also something you can give back to it.
True.
And sometimes it's not always the sweet part, that you can choose. Sometimes you have to get out of the comfort zone, I guess, and try new things. And I don't know, I've been driving myself so many times against the wall when I could have had much easier, but just can't stop snowboarding at that point, where it's a great deal of, freedom and creativity it gives me, or maybe I just don't know any better.
No, dude, I think that I love that. Yeah, like Torstein, Arthur, obviously, I wish was there. For whatever reason, he didn't decide to go. Kazu would have been another person I would have loved to see there. Nicholas. I
Yeah,
mean, those four off the top of my head are like, maybe.
yeah, that's spot on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I know.
yeah.
I'm gonna probably
That'd
put the
be
event
that'd
on
be a
next
bit
year.
more my group age people. I was riding against Austin, Sweden, which it's maybe 1-2 generation. In Absinthe terms, it's maybe even 3 generations difference there. But yeah,
What
uh,
was it like to film with the younger generation now that you it's crazy to think, life has gone by fast. You're a veteran now. What was it
I
like
can't
to
handle it.
I know, I kind of figured.
You
I
can't
kind of
handle the
figured.
group of 5. I was like, I mean, you get like just to plan things or get going, it just takes so much time, and you end up like, yeah. Um, I've been feeling quite, lucky to throughout all the years of filming with big film productions, that at the same time, my friend's pirate movie production, that you know, what like those are my snowboarding homies
Since day
that
one.
day one, and they managed to bring their tasks up to the level of like being a worldly, like, good video production.
Oh, one of
And
the top
it's
film
great.
companies out.
Yeah, and I got to do a couple of projects with them, with individual writers, younger writers like Elias, or yeah, film with them in the last years. Like even the Stronger movie, I got to film with Kazu a lot in that, and then Kazu invited me for his movie. I was in a Japanese only crew then, and
Sick.
like things like that make me feel happy to be able to. And with this season there will be the movie Driven coming out, where I got to film with Manuel Diaz, um,
Damn. He's
Victor Davier,
crazy.
my teammate, and most of all, John Jackson, who's also one of the guys I got to meet really early on in my career. Was actually was during Nippon Open times, Japan, when we met. And yeah, he actually also was there when the accident with Chaffee happened, and so it was really nice to get to ride with him, like seeing all his incredible video parts. Um, yeah, that the last 3 years we were filming for Driven definitely was like the one of the better movie projects we've been on. Was really felt really good. So that will drop this autumn.
Dang. Looking forward
Yeah,
to it. So
yeah,
filming with Manuel, you have like the craziest line rider ever. Like, I mean, his level of like he puts his big boy pants on when he goes to Alaska. Like
yeah,
him and like J Rob, they buckle up there.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Manuel's riding is amongst the most stylish turns in snowboarding. You can see that he probably his backdrop comes from surfing, and he's a really good surfer. And like, yeah,
And John too. I mean, John, what a career. I mean, he's been dropped by
makes the
everybody, injured and then dropped by Burton and then has no sponsors and then keeps going. It's like this dude lives and breathes to
form.
snowboard, and to see him,
Yeah,
he is shredding harder than ever. Like,
yeah. No, it is like, what a cast. It was really some time well spent in the last years traveling to the most and best, most unique and best snowboarding spot in the world. Try to, kind of tie not onto the movie Perceptions, which dropped in 2014,
yeah.
and try to kind of go in that direction for the movie Concept Driven. Then obviously we did not reach Alaska, this one, so that one we had to stuff
Which is
this
too bad
season.
because that crew in Alaska,
Hmm.
wow,
Yeah,
the
that
dream team.
that calls maybe for a remake
Yeah, it
for
does.
the the lost tapes.
Have you ever what was one of the most frightened times of your life? Was there ever a point where you were like standing on top of a line, like I don't want to do this line, or like a jump? Was there ever like one thing in particular that was like really gnarly that you did that you were like,
Mm,
holy shit?
no, there's some opportunities I missed where I thought like, oh wow, how would that be if that would have really happened when I was like this close to maybe get
It
there.
would, yeah,
There,
exactly.
yeah. Uh, no, it was more like more you like I don't know, like it was more like circumstances that I've been getting afraid of. Obviously, Jeffy has, been a really tough one to lose somebody that's, been that close and doing the same things I do and seeing, um, that part and not necessarily snowboarding. Like you're saying yourself, I'm light as a feather, so what can go wrong? It's snowboarding. It's nothing hard to
Oh man,
be
I love
confronted
that
with.
you said that. Snowboarding,
Yeah,
it's nothing hard. You're strapped
yeah,
in, enjoy the ride.
yeah. I've actually knocked over trees that were this thick with my torso, so
Oh, I
I
remember
should
that in
actually come
Absinthe.
back with a slam section. I've probably,
Because
trial and error. Here I am, still living and breathing
you have
and
two of
laughing
the
about it.
gnarliest slams. I mean, you have the one slam that you're talking about where you hit the tree, and you have the other slam where you hit a jump, like a step down, and then you launch off that wind lip and do like a 300-foot backdrop onto your neck.
Yeah, yeah. That's the one I'm known for. I could
Yeah,
have ended my career just by likes on that one.
good thing you're light as a feather.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's one thing I could run you through the process that went through my head. When that happened, when I dropped off the edge of the world, was like punching holes into the air, rolling down the windows, just to not end up landing on my neck. And the board was like the wind was like trying to pull it up so much like a parachute that I had to punch so hard to keep the board down, and I landed in a pile of snow that like slid there. So it was extra dense snow, 3 times as high as anywhere else on the mountain, because that hill I flew over slid and created that cushion at the bottom. And I just impacted the whole thing, exploded, and I only like I put in such a big hole. I was like, I had to get out, like climbing out of that hole. And all I heard was my wrist because I hit it on my toe edge when I landed. I was lucky. Uh, yeah, I had a lot of fails.
One thing I'd like to touch base on before we wrap it up here is how do you keep this progression that you have going on? Like what fuels you to keep going? Like what's your motivation? I mean, you've accomplished it all. You're the GOAT. I mean, you've won up every award. I actually have a little stat here. You've been voted um rider of the year top 10 um 10 times, and of
Oh,
those
really?
5 you've been nominated in the top 3. So, I
Oh,
mean, you've done
nice.
it. You've gotten rider of the year, you have pro models with everything.
Yeah,
You've
that
come
was
and
my
gone.
biggest goal throughout all my career, and that's one thing that maybe to our talk here builds another structure and explains the about to film video parts and all that was like part of the motivation was it always has been kind of like, and you cannot deny snowboarding is a sport, I mean, it's all this lifestyle and everything, and all the friends you meet, and you know, technology play a part too, where you know, you get to show that all the nice, like the amazing influence that you get and lifestyle you choose. But one thing has definitely been certain, that throughout those video parts, you have been always kind of trying to land in those top tens, as as maybe it came from my parents. It, like you like just to see where you are, you know, kind of thing. Like, is it worth it to pursue? Like, what level? I mean, that's what was nice about that. You know, those top 10 lists. It gave you basically a feedback of, like, yeah,
Where you're
obviously
at.
also money at the end. What you worth it now maybe has changed, but that was the measurement.
Well,
So
here's just because we're on that measurement topic, which I think this is a cool question for you. You know, early 2000s, even to 2010, maybe dragging into around 2015. If you got Rider of the Year, Rookie of the Year, top 10 rider, that really, that I feel like that award was held very high back in the day, like amongst your peers and the snowboard community and your sponsors. Where now, I find like you open your phone, it's like top 10 rider of the years, you swipe left, right, left, and then it's over. And then you just keep scrolling. And I feel like the impact is somewhat like less. Do you feel the same way? Or
um,
do you still feel like if you got rider of the year today, it holds the same value as in 2013 when it was just, it seemed crazier back then?
no, there needs to be that level of competition, you know, where you're going up against. Like, it needs to be the top guys. What we talked about in natural selection, that's where you want to see, you know, the top guys. And in the internet, you can, you know, get influences and everything, but it's not like, you know, cutting you any slack for what, you know, what the sport is, what drives the sport. So it's generally going through the phases. I think top 10 riders was like a certain era where, you know, it used to be Peter Line in front and so on and so on. But then all of a sudden there's a different name. That was that excitement that kept, you know, for 5, 10 years. And then the whole thing changed. But now it should be somewhere, that field to be found somewhere. And that might be just that natural selection, or something, you know, or that video part that that's possible, you know, or team videos and whatnot.
It, yeah, it just
Just
sucks that
something
there's
that
not
that
like,
shows the beauty, I guess, of it. And I mean, there's so many things have been done, but um, I believe that there's still like some character left out there, you know.
yeah, I mean, snowboarder Transworld used to be like, you know, Transworld was the best and biggest magazine. And if you were the rider of the year of that, that meant everything. Where now it's like there's tons of different magazines that are like, you got Torment magazine, you have Method Mag. And I feel like every one of those has like their own like kind of rider of the year. I mean, Slush magazine now, which I think is just a branch off of Snowboarder Mag. And it's like hard to like, you know, everyone has their own, because snowboarding is really about taste, you know what I mean, and expressing yourself. And to say somebody is the best is really just opinion. So
Yeah,
like,
nowadays everything is a potpourri, and you can, you know, depending on what influence you want to get, you can get it. Um, so for snowboarding itself, there's not a definite plan, but in in general, something I've learned throughout the affiliation with companies and how the industry works. I think a big part might be that Uh, drawing a blank. It's been a
No,
long
no
one.
worries, dude. Take a blank.
Um, uh, that I guess with Nike, what I've learned is that you need to have, some sort of, I guess, elite, or where was I trying to get that
No, but like without those top dogs, it's like those top guys help influence generations of kids, or like a full generation of kids, just because of the influence they have. And I
yeah.
mean, it's important to have people to look up to. But
Oh, I got it back.
all right.
So which is a common part these days is nostalgia, and that's something I've learned through those companies and Nike, and at that, like, nostalgia is basically the death to, you know anything that's for the future, right? You're trying to relive a moment, or take that influence, but you try to recreate, and that's what maybe some of those magazines are built upon. But and the whole structure and trends nowadays, it feels like, but maybe it's me just getting old and I'm seeing things in retro, like this has
Well,
been
you're
my
like,
blah
that
blah blah.
person's trying to do Blunt magazine. That's trying to do this. Like, you've seen it.
Yeah, or like, like, in general, if if the elite stays, you know true to the sports, and puts themselves out there into a field of competition, makes it so much more exciting, in a way where you can see failures. I just don't like it to be polished all the way. Like, everybody gets to see what everybody's doing at the same, like, moment of time, and kind of like can follow him. But there's, yeah, like a lot of careers might become a bit polished. So what I'm trying to maybe do is, you know like, to be in the front line, like same as what Travis is doing with his thing. Like, he's being out there and influencing. I'm running my own company, and you know uh, do that for my livelihood.
Yeah.
And that's just, yeah,
Well, here's a
interesting.
here's a question for you. So Slash snowboards, let's say there's a young and up and coming kid, and he wants to get on Slash. He wants Gigi to notice him. What advice do you have for the next generation to stand out from the crowd?
uh, Try and find who can help you to the next step of snowboarding, and be willing to be open-hearted, and approach, that sense of intuition that leads you there, or guides you there, that you can, you know uh, just don't get caught in superstitions, or shy away from eventualities. Just kind of look and see for yourself. um, and I guess, yeah, I mean, don't take risks in action, but a GoPro video won't get you there. It's your, you know companions, or that you know say that safe, um like, play it safe in that environment of, like, if you're going out to do something risky, try and have somebody there, and don't go, alone. Just try to find the people that can get you the next advice. But maybe don't look at it in some federation and old people trying to push sponsor contracts on you, or whatever.
I
To
think that, yeah, what you
find
said
the
at the beginning. Yeah.
symbiosis to what you're attracted to, and where your goals are. But I don't think that any time you try to make it easy on yourself and go a shortcut, it will be beneficial.
I've always kind of liked the
Will work.
mentality of, like, you're the average of your 5 best friends. And I mean, if you're like have a mentor, but like if you're hanging out with 5 kids who all love snowboarding and like live for it and are all inspired by, whatever videos, you'll most likely get there just because you guys are all in love with the same thing. But if you're hanging out with you're one passionate snowboarder who's hanging out with somebody who kind of likes snowboarding and 2 other guys who do it on the weekend and somebody else who plays video games, you'll probably never really like reach those goals until you really surround yourself with a group of snowboarders who are obsessed with it the same amount that you are, whether that's moving to the mountains or moving to Salt Lake or Bear Mountain or whatever. But you can look at that in a context outside of just snowboarding. Like if you want to be the best mountain biker in the world, if you want to be the best, investment banker, you should probably be hanging out with people who are investment bankers if you want to excel at that one thing. So surround yourself with a group of snowboarders if that's what you want to be doing.
Yeah. What comes up in my head is always like it's the part about brothers. It's always the younger brother that rides better, except maybe the Linus brothers. But you have not seen much of Eric. What could have he maybe done if he would have pursued it all, outgoingly. But yeah, it's always that aspiring to, I guess, what keeps you going. In that group of 5, let's say, that group of 5, it's that one that wants it the baddest.
Oh, yeah, totally. You pay the dues the longest. All right, so I got a few questions here for you that I ask a bunch of guests. I kind of shuffle them around each week, but all right. What do you have planned for the future, my man? What's the future got in store for Gigi?
Are we talking this summer?
Yeah, sure. Whatever context
Yeah.
you want to bring it into.
Yeah. Do have a garden to take care of. Some beekeeping soon, next 2 months.
Nice.
And obviously want to make the next 10 years of Slash happening and making the right decisions for that. And that's exciting. And that's what I'm currently doing.
You got to sponsor somebody in Canada. I don't know any. I don't know if I know anyone who rides for you in my local neighborhood.
Oh yeah, Jeff Brown.
Oh shit,
Dan
my
Barker.
boy. Yep. Yeah. There we go. Sorry,
So,
Jeff. Shout outs to Jeff. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, nice GoPro skills there, or not GoPro, other camera.
The 360.
I have no idea, but it looks awesome. But those edits. Yeah, Slash. Obviously, family. My kids are growing to the age where I already said it's surreal to witness them become and be their own. I cannot even comprehend what they think of me.
I cannot imagine.
I'm just like cutting them all the slack. I wonder if they're gonna be, having some sort of steam behind them. They're like, yeah. So, yeah, wonderful to see them.
Kids in beehives. All right. Next, question 2. What was your biggest takeaway from professional snowboarding? I mean, you've had an insanely long career, so.
It's the house. House. And to have a family living in it, and garden to take care of, skate park. What else? A collection of memorabilia.
Non-material possession way. Like, what was your biggest takeaway from snowboarding?
My biggest takeaway. Oh man, what is it? That didn't I say that already? No, that you have to, I guess, do what you like to do and do more of it.
Awesome. What my third question here for you is for the next generation of snowboarders coming out, what do you think they should do besides just have like a social media account? Like, do you think that kids should be focusing their time on um like how do you be the next Gigi, man? Like give us how do we do what you did?
Uh, I guess you start with asking your grandmother to knit you your favorite beanie. That's your lucky charm. Keep it. And ask your mom to put some waterproof materials under your baggy jeans.
That was exactly what I wanted to hear. You hear that, kids? Beg your grandmother to make you a beanie. All right, the last question I have for you. Do you believe in aliens?
Ooh, tough one. If I am one, I believe in them.
I knew you were an alien, dude. That's the reason why you're so good at this shit. Damn
Oh,
it.
it's just like UFO airs. I wish I could do. Maybe I just write smaller boards.
Oh,
UFO
man.
UFO 720s next up.
Man, I cannot thank you enough
That's
for
why I
coming
have those
on.
grab holds and those slash. I need to stay limber to accomplish
All
my
right.
dream of a UFO
Stay
720.
stay limp. Hey, do you feel stiff at all, or do you not? Do you just feel like a ninja still?
Um, I I get to that point to feel like a ninja, but not without the help of my cousin, who's my personal trainer. He needs to helping me on that part. But if I'm doing that slash work bookkeeping type stuff that I need to do, um, I feel like I'm treating myself not very well. So yeah, I mean, I see offices in companies that, the tables you stand there. I just cannot sit around. It's a pain.
Yeah, I'm getting a table right now, a desk. So the one that can either, you press a button and it's like standing level, or you press a
Oh yeah,
button
it's
and
just
it's
like
sitting
on those
level.
mountain bikes. You just have like
Yeah,
comes
I
out.
I need to do that because I just feel shitty sitting at a desk all day. But dude, I
I
cannot
thought you're
thank
just
you.
doing these interviews.
I am. That's
Don't
why I'm at
cut
a
you. Are you
desk.
gonna cut this? You're gonna make
No,
me look good?
I'm gonna make you look good, dude. This whole interview is going out because it was perfect, dude. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Um, 30 years of on a snowboard,
Hey,
20
and
something
we
years.
helped you dig out the car when you showed up in that parking lot, and
Oh yeah, you saw me get stuck in Rutherford. That's so embarrassing. I was like, oh no, Gigi can just see me stuck here like an idiot.
hey, but we came over and helped. That was
Yeah, yeah,
totally cool to break the ice, right?
yeah. That was a good icebreaker. I'm glad you remember that because I'll remember that to the day I die. Like Gigi helped me get unstuck with my truck. And now that we share that in common, I can't wait to tell that story forever. I'm also excited for you to be at Natural Selection next year. And just
Fingers crossed.
thanks for everything, man. You're a hero, a legend, the goat, just on every front.
Oh
So
man, thanks.
thanks for snowboarding, dude. You're the
Well,
best.
yeah, I hope to still be doing that when I'm 60 and go on vacation and ball face with my kids for once at
Yeah, we'll go
Christmas.
and hang out with Jeff and have a few tins. I'm looking forward
Yeah,
to it. We're coming to
yeah.
Bald Face. You hear that, Jeff? We're coming. All right. Take
Jody,
care,
thank
man.
you very much for this opportunity. I don't know if I could shed any light to anything, but sure like to thank everybody who has helped me along the way. I know who you are, and thanks. So yeah, and never mind coming up and speak to me.
Hell
So
yeah, dude. Thank
yeah.
you. Peace.
Peace.
Um,